Okay, so we're live, or any moment we're live. Thank you for tuning in. This channeling will start soon. Before it does, you can always hop into the live streams and be informed of them ahead of time with the email list that's on my website. And that's probably the best way to stay informed. But you can also check out on social media. There's always a chance you won't see the post. So if you really want to be sure to make it, get on the email list. And where? I keep missing the buttons. Okay. Okay, now we're in the YouTube chat box. And in the YouTube chat box, you can get the link to join. And there will be a series of other links as well. Okay. All right. And what else do I have to do? I need to turn the air conditioning thing on because it's hot. And I don't want it to be so hot. And I need a sip of water. Okay, thanks for joining today, everybody. Good to see many people here. And hopefully some people catching the replay. And yeah, we're continuing on Fridays in the new year and onward, hopefully. Well, maybe Friday, maybe Saturday, who knows? Right now, we're going with Fridays again. Stay tuned. And today, we're going to dive right into the transmission. And I put on the YouTube chat box how you can find the website and also some different books that are available, the heart flow transmissions summation of the channeling work that I've done over the years on this channel with Pleiadian Council, the live streams and the live sessions transcribed into a book, and also a time capsule that is coming out soon. This is something that I wrote back in college and high school, and as I've been doing a lot of writing recently and moving towards publishing some other books, I wanted to also kind of bring to the public eye what I originally started working on. So I was doing writing even before this spiritual path, and certainly before channeling, and I still think some of it is quite magical. So with that said, now we'll dive into the stream. And if you want to go deeper with the Pleiadian Council, personal sessions are a way to get deeper face-to-face support where you can take this energy in a deeper way, and we can explore perhaps some of the events and arising in your life and the challenges happening within yourself. Channeling can be a great way to help to connect with your own subconscious parts and resolve some inner conflicts, gain some understanding, tap into your own intuition, and learn how to live through that flow state and essentially channel yourself in many ways. So if you find these transmissions helpful, I encourage you to go deeper in those other sessions and see what else is out there. So for now, I think we'll tune in and let the guides take over, and I'll see you on the other side. Hello, and we say a fantastic day to you at this day of your time. We are the Pleiadian Council, and we thank you for allowing this interaction to take place. It is a great gift for us to be able to co-create with your world and share reflections with each other. And today, our message has been described as holding an open heart space for spiritual and cognitive dissonance. As we want you to be able to find a space of openness, of grounding, of clarity, and compassion, no matter what you encounter in the world out there. Indeed, many of you find that you are peering into other realities where there is chaos. And in your own life, you have a place of grounding and you operate from a state of clarity. Those of you who are in this state are those who are helping others to learn how to enter into a parallel reality wherein there is order despite the chaos outside. Others of you are helping those who are in the grips of this chaos overcome the idea of oppression and injustice. You are helping them discover what it means to find safety, strength, and resiliency. And it is important to be able to learn to have compassion even for those who support the idea of injustice, of tyranny, and oppression. Most of the time, they're doing this in ignorance. And that is the clearest way that you can stay in this state of compassion. They are not doing it because they are malicious at their core. They do it because they don't necessarily know better. And it is essentially a way of protecting themselves from solving puzzles within their own psyche. It takes a deep and thorough process of knowing yourself and sitting with the contradictory belief systems until they resolve, to be able to live in a state of compassion and clarity and flow. And so many take a shortcut, and that shortcut is the idea of force. And so now you see in this world expressions of brute force, expressions of absolute sternness, expressions of reactivity, expressions of domination, and expressions of greed and control. All of these energies are coming from a place of deep spiritual dissonance. Oftentimes, a mask of supposed spiritual righteousness is painted on top of this vast distortion. Sometimes those who support a seeming loving God, at least according to their own beliefs, end up being those who support tyranny and oppression. And these are the ones that you must open your heart the most to, as they are the ones who are the most lost. Oftentimes, you may come towards these others, supposed others, you could say, with resentment, superiority, judgment, and all of these energies further the divide between you. It's understandable that you may have your own process of denser or shadow emotions when there is chaos in the world and you are faced with ignorance and greed before you. Remember that the clearest way to find balance is to confront ignorance, greed, and fear first within yourself. When you can see the parts of yourself that might be still holding on to this energy to an extent and make yourself more aware of them, hold them more closely, and bring them into the light of your consciousness, then it becomes far easier to interact with others who are in deeper and denser levels of this fear. By doing this inner work, you are saying, I see myself in the other. And when you meet them with that attitude, they are allowed to soften. And so it is a softening within yourself that allows you to bring the others to soften around you. And the paradox of this is that you may become softer with the shadow aspects while being stronger with your boundaries. You have to be very clear about what your own beliefs and values are and what you're available for and what you're not, especially as in these times of a faster pace, there may be many who demand your energy or attention. And really, you will start to notice more of the time the little hiccups or interruptions in your process that cause you to lose momentum. It seems as if you are doing small favors, but if a small favor causes a big interruption to your momentum, it wasn't a small favor or a small ask in any way. So look at this instead of how much effort is involved, how much does this interrupt my flow, or how much does it add to the flow? And effortlessness is not intrinsically associated with flow. Eventually, in certain levels of flow, effortlessness becomes a quality, but you still might be using much exertion despite that feeling of effortlessness. There is always effort within the effortless feeling. It isn't as if you are not expending energy. It's as if you enjoy the process so much that it doesn't feel like anything is being wasted or forced. That is the real depth of flow and the energy we encourage all of you to attune to be ever present and ever resilient in a world where there are many shocks and shakes taking place now and in the times to come. So let's define then what is this idea of spiritual dissonance. We've named it in so many ways already. It is the ignorance, fear, and the greed that gets involved in the way that humans misrepresent themselves and rob others of energy. So when you can see this energy for what it is, spiritual dissonance, you can be the remedy with your own inner harmony. And to be in harmony doesn't always have to mean that you yourself are in a deep expression of pure love and light without feeling sometimes the disturbance of friction. You can have love and compassion for yourself as a way to give a name and give an expression to the friction that arises within you. To name that friction as friction is what brings you closer to establishing your boundaries. Whenever there is friction, there is a boundary that is being rubbed up against. That is why it is experienced as friction. And so start to pay closer attention to the subtle ways that friction shows up in your life. When you have that practice of connecting with your body and allowing yourself to feel the waves of energy moving through you, you become ever more sensitive to the moment that you walk into a different space or somebody else comes into your space and suddenly friction is present. Violations of boundaries can happen in the slightest of ways without you necessarily knowing it. It can even happen on the level of assumption and assessment of availability with imposition, we would say. So notice what happens when you enter a space or when others enter your space. Is there a sense of lightness and expansion, or is there a sense of friction? And if friction is present, that's a moment to look deeper. See what boundaries are being rubbed up against and what is causing that. And become ever more prepared to name the friction without escalating the situation, to be able to name that energy and still stay centered in your heart. Now, it is important to be able to name this spiritual dissonance for what it is, as there may be many who claim supposed righteousness, yet live with greed and ignorance driving their heart. They may live with hatred driving their heart and think that this hate is justified because others are wrong. And this ignorance is what needs to be named and understood so clearly. Find ways that you yourself might be holding on to this as judgment arises, and invite yourself into states of great compassion for those who bring this judgment. And then just as much question, what is it that those people are judging? Where are they ignorant? And where is their hatred misguiding their actions and their perceptions? If in all of these interactions you can bring a sense of grounding, a smile, a recognition of yourself in the other, you open the space. And from there, if you can name in just the slightest way the presence of these energies of ignorance, fear, hatred, greed, and bring others to see that within themselves and see how that's driving their actions, this will gradually break apart the system at its core. This is the act of spiritual recalibration. It is a peaceful confrontation. It is the willingness to channel the light and be a mirror even when it's difficult. Now, with spiritual dissonance just as much causes, there is a level of cognitive dissonance. And this is what arises when a belief system that one once held is challenged suddenly and shockingly. You may go through cognitive dissonance very much when you challenge your belief systems and do journaling exercises and then start to see your own past way of thinking was keeping you back. You most likely sometimes experience cognitive dissonance even in these channeling sessions. When you start to see a story that you once told is not necessarily the clearest version of the truth. There is both a level of discomfort in this at first, and then there is liberation. Now, there are those of you who seek this liberation, and so you feel quite comfortable being challenged. But there are many out there who don't necessarily want to be challenged. Oh, but they will be. It's not your job to find the truth and shove it in their face, because that will only make them close more in resistance. You have to first make a connection and establish coherence, and then bring to them the degree of truth that they're willing to face. You have to bring them into that space where they're just as excited to see that their beliefs and their stories are not serving them. You have to show them the benefit of changing. And so until others are just as excited about you are as telling new stories and undoing the programming of your prior beliefs, your attempt to help them or heal them is not necessarily going to progress your path or their path. So find the extent to which people are comfortable being challenged and challenge them all the way to that point and no further. And in doing this, you can break down the walls of belief that cause people to be divided. In these times, this is an ever more important thing to do, because it is indeed a time of tremendous transformation. And it is ultimately a time in which the notion of hierarchy is going to topple. This is the centralized power of control and the pyramidal sort of structure that puts elite beings in control of organizations with absolute authority, allowing them to use abusive and patriarchal power to cause disarray and harmony for the masses. And this dynamic plays out in microcosmic levels. Ultimately, you have to be the one to cast the oppressor out of your own mind. Start to notice, where do I buy into hierarchy? Where is there a notion of higher and lower energy? how do I see certain people as above other people? How do I put myself below or above others? Challenge these notions without doing away with the idea of expertise and authority entirely. Certainly, there are some people who are experts and they have great talents, but just because they have specific talents that you don't have doesn't mean they are automatically higher than you. They're just better at some things than you are. It is tapping into that level of innate worth and recognizing that everyone has the same innate worth. Everyone has intrinsic value. And when you see this energy and you even the playing field, you create a system that will work very differently. It is a system that will allow for justice and coherence to naturally arise without dividing the masses and creating fear, separation, and allowing the aspects of your lower nature to take hold of you and rob you of your spiritual strength. This is the task at these times. And this is ultimately where your world is going. And so what you will be seeing is exaggerated levels of abuse in all areas where there is a hierarchical structure, exaggerated levels of ego and aggrandizement and inflation and power-hungry stories in all areas where there is hierarchical control. And you will see a usurping of that power and a collapse sometimes of entire systems when these power structures get disrupted. This will happen in a variety of ways, and it will coincide with humanity gradually recognizing the power within themselves, of catching the way that they outsource their authority to others, and instead recognizing the great creative power that exists within them and the spirit that exists within them. Living from that place of spiritual connection and care will be a new culture and a new type of world. But it isn't that it is a new time. It is a choice that you make together. It doesn't simply happen because it's destined. It is one potential timeline of many. So never surrender to the fact that energies are increasing and expanding. Remember that you are the one in the driver's seat, and you are the only one who can actualize this energy into your life. So take this to heart and do what you can to topple hierarchy within yourself and usurp the control of fear, ignorance, and greed, using compassion, inner strength, and discernment as your tools to move forward in your life in a way that is clear, clever, confident, playful, and again, always guided by your heart's excitement. Applying that formula of enacting your highest excitement to the best of your ability without insisting on a particular outcome. Now, we thank you for allowing us to share this message with you to begin, and we ask, how can we be of service to you with your questions, comments, musings, or inquiries, beginning whenever you would like?
Thank you so much for this opening monologue. I will be on the record saying that I think this has been the most powerful one I can remember, and I can't wait to re-listen to it again. So thank you so much.
Yes.
I have a question that is very much in alignment, so I will dive in first. And my question is, from your perspective, what is the difference energetically between a type of hope that is depending on outcomes and leaves space for judgment, as you talked about, and then a type of hope that exists before certainty, but doesn't leave room for any judgment? And how does that difference influence our sense of sovereignty?
Well, hope that requires certainty is more in line with what you might call knowledge or proof. So the idea of hope always implies that there is uncertainty in the wake. There has to be some level of unknown for it to be hope and not trust, or perhaps a different word. So yes, knowing that hope implies a certain level of uncertainty, we would say that you might find yourselves to doubt in moments that outcomes that you don't prefer would imply a loss of a sense of self that you are attached to. So when you base your own identity on an outcome before the outcome arises, then your hope or your positive expectation is slightly blindsided, we would say. When your sense of identity is expansive enough to be solid in both the potential timeline of success, the potential timeline of failure and embarrassment, then your hope is complete and infallible, because you recognize even when you get the outcome that you don't prefer, your own sense of self is still intact. You know exactly how you'll deal with that failure, and you know exactly how you'll turn that failure into something positive. And so there's no more risk or weighing. There's a complete trust that whatever happens, it's going to be for the better. I might get what I want, but if I don't get what I want, ultimately that will serve me for the very best path possible. And I just won't see it until I get there.
Wow, that was so profound. Thank you so much. I'm just going to sneak in one pre-written question, and then I know there's someone in the Zoom room eager to ask as well. So the question is, in these times of exposure and polarization, what inner capacities can most humans or can help? Oh, sorry. What inner capacities can most help humans remain aligned with their love and passion without collapsing into judgment?
We would say it's the capacity to create. As you're now in a world where there is very much consumption. Consumption is essentially the basis of the model of society that you live within. And when you are in consumption, you are in a passive state. And yes, it's okay to be in a passive state some of the time. It isn't a moralization against passivity. You need essentially an equal balance of passive and active energy in your life. And that means you get enough sleep, but also you get enough rest in your day. And again, you act upon the things that excite you. And what happens is many individuals start to become imbalanced towards passivity and consumption. And so they are consuming incoherence because the society itself is incoherent. You consume news that is incoherent. You consume approaches to the news that are incoherent. You consume reactions to the news that are incoherent. And then you have to transmute that. But if all you do is consume, you have no transmutation process. Creativity is your transmutation process. And creativity doesn't just mean making art. Creativity happens in your conversations. Creativity happens as you're taking a walk and admiring nature. Creativity happens in the way that you move your body and the way that you speak. So creativity is within all acts of creation. And every level of your self-expression is a form of creative energy. And so to transmute this, you have to become a creator, not a consumer. That doesn't mean you don't ever consume, but it means that you derive more pleasure and more satisfaction from creating than consuming. And that then leads you to also prioritize consuming things that feed your creativity, creating a feedback loop of getting inspired by what you consume to create more, to inspire others to consume something better that inspires them to create. It's all about noticing what feedback loop you're on. Are you consuming ideas that lead to incoherence, then creating from incoherence and giving other people more incoherence so that they can create from incoherence and lead other people to consume more incoherence? Or are you creating from coherence and creating from your place of inner resilience, creating from a place of truth, of hope, of clarity, of compassion, and of synthesis, where you see all sides all parts of the big picture and you express your own vision of what serves the betterment of all. When you do that, you are putting coherence and togetherness into the cycle, and you help other people just as much to snap out of the loop of consumption. And this is what will lead you to be most regulated and most imbalanced in these times. And so another word about creation is that not everything you create has to be fully harmonic. You can even create from a place of dissonance as long as it's authentic and as long as it's based in compassion. That means energies and frequencies that trouble you can come into your creative act as long as you are consciously transmuting them through the creative act. And this is what artists have always done. They've allowed their pain to be the way that they come to put pictures on the page or words onto the page. The paintings and the creations they brought forth were the medicine for the inner experience. And so as long as you are consciously creating as a way to create a medicine for yourself and for others, what you create doesn't matter as much as the intention and the frequency you bring into it. And you will refine both your frequency and intention over time.
Thank you so much. I have no words. The resonance is off the charts. So let's see if anyone in the Zoom room has got any questions. And I believe we got at least one.
Yes, and thank you very much. Appreciate all of the relevance for not only that answer and question, but for the message that you gave on the dissonance. My question is, I know Bashar had stated if the male energy was elected that it would lead to World War III, and it looks like we're pushing up against some of those boundaries that you had mentioned earlier. Can you comment on that at all, if it is relevant for us?
There will be some international conflicts. There will be some civil conflicts even. You may even see, as the Bashar said, the decimation of the United States of America. What could emerge from there are state-based nations, local governments, and a different sort of world that is more locally based and decentralized rather than based in the federal and centralized control measures. And the process of getting there isn't necessarily going to be pretty. There can be other timelines in place as well, but where you are going will be very clear by the end of this year. This is sort of a very important window in which the timeline becomes ironed out.
That works for me, and that makes a lot of sense. And that seems to be a step into all of the geographical boundaries that countries have dissolving after open contact.
Yes. You will see a world with fewer borders, that's for sure.
Thank you. And I have one more question, if I may.
Yes.
Is there any way that you can explain to us humans the differences between the higher non-physical realms between each other? Is it all just vibration?
You mean the different beings that exist in these realms,
Well,
or?
the different densities, I will say.
Well, yes, the densities are levels of frequency and vibration. Some of them are more structured in the way that yours are. Others are realms of vibration and light and energy that is certainly beyond your human comprehension. You could say that the densities just slightly above you are very resonant with your dreams. They have that quality of being amorphous in the ways that dreams are amorphous, and beings that exist within those dimensions can shape them with their will in the same way that in your dreams you can rapidly move from place to place simply by thinking about it.
That's a lot more information than I had before. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yes.
I have a question. Hello.
Hello.
So if there's a lot of division between different sides and there's a lot of fear between people, and you were saying about bringing like how to bring people onto like a perspective that sees both sides so we can kind of like dismantle different controlling systems. How do you approach the fear, and how do you ensure that you're also protecting your own energy in these sorts of situations so you're not ending up getting hurt? Like, because you have to learn past mistakes as well.
The idea here is that if you're getting hurt, you're being shown parts of yourself that you've not yet been able to fully come to terms with. As in these discussions, there can be a lot of finger pointing, rights and wrongs, and sometimes these feelings of accusation connect you to a part of yourself that feels as if you are wrong in some way. It can activate the idea of the inner critic, the victim, the saboteur, the fear of being the one who made a mistake, and so on. And it is important to have a clear relationship with all of these parts and understand the stories that keep them alive. Bring these parts into your heart and embrace them. And when you come to allow them to release their fears, and you are comfortable within yourself, regardless of what role other people cast you in their plays, in their stories, you could say, then you will be resilient, and none of these conversations will necessarily stick to you. And so what's very important is that for both sides to see the other side, they have to understand themselves and what they believe. They have to understand their own perception of the other person and what they believe. And then they have to make space to really listen to the other person and get a clearer sense of that person's story and how that person sees themselves and the other party. So we would always suggest in these cases that there is active listening. When you engage with anyone, the best thing that you can do to fully connect with them is after they make a statement and express how they feel, that you reflect back to them both their own thoughts and their feelings to help them acknowledge that you have heard them. As you do that, you start to put yourself in their shoes within the conversation, and you see from their eyes from within that conversation. And this allows you to be able to feel what they feel and think what they think for a moment. And when you do this, the tension and the walls generally dissolve. Now, we would say that when there are people who are dealing with a deeper and denser level of the idea of hatred, fear, and anger, you will find that there can be great explosions in these conversations. But when you have fully met those energies within yourself and you have learned how to hold them, then you will certainly be able to let the energy brush off of you in that conversation. And a permission slip that we would suggest for people to be able to fully sit with all of these intense energies is to perhaps question, maybe there's a type of film or a genre of music or a quality of music that you find challenging. You might feel that suspense movies are frightening, or some horror movies are too much for you to watch. You might find that music that's too angry or too sad is difficult to listen to. The idea is that notice what your taboos are. When you encounter art that triggers you, use that as a space to connect with the parts of yourself and the feelings within yourself that you don't necessarily know how to hold. It's about creating the capacity to hold denser feelings. And then whenever you meet those feelings in the news and other people, then you are able to hold those other people and create a stronger bond between them through your ability to allow those feelings to be present without resisting them and without pushing them away. So finally, to summarize, this idea is again that the energies that arise in these conflicts already exist within you. Knowing that, get comfortable with those energies and learn how to hold them and not push them away.
Okay, thank you. So you're basically saying that if you have a conversation with somebody or like an interaction with somebody, none of that can actually hurt you. It only hurt the part of you within yourself that is reacting to that.
Well, what gets brought up through the conversation was already existing within you.
Okay.
For example, you have a conversation and you feel as if somebody insulted your intelligence. And then you get frustrated and you get angry. But it wasn't just that conversation. It was the history of all of the times that you have felt as if other people have shut you down and shut your voice down. And so the emotions that rise to the surface then have to do with your history and the pattern itself. From that perspective, the conflict is an opportunity to rise above those past injustices and to own your truth and to not let other people shut you down. In that sense, the conversation and the conflict, while uncomfortable, was a stepping stone for both of you to learn how to be more grounded in who you are.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yes.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes, hello.
Hi, this is my first time here. Is it okay to ask a personal question?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. So, I had this really intense dream experience a few nights ago, and I was wondering if you can maybe shed some light on it. Um, it was as if I was in a dark room, and it was dark, but I could see a silhouette of a bird, kind of looked like a chicken or hen. And there were two pillars of light, thin pillars of light that were pulsating with light. One was vertical, one was horizontal. But the most intense thing was the vibrations that I was feeling in my body and my head. It was very intense, vibrating in my head. It was like, and I could feel it in my head, but I was sleeping, but I wasn't sleeping. I don't know. And I remember I started to think, oh, is it my ET family coming to get me? And then I said to myself, I'm not scared, I'm not scared. And when the vibrations got really, really huge, then I woke up. Can you tell me anything about it, please?
And once you woke up, how did you feel?
I felt great. I felt excited that I had such an exciting dream that I don't feel was a dream.
No. Well, it happened in a dream state, but it was also a transmission of a great sort. Were these vertical and horizontal lights intersecting?
And I don't think so. They might have been touching on top, like their ends might have been touching, but they weren't crossing one another.
Yes. Well, yes, these lights symbolize that access to source. It is the channel through which you connect with your own higher self. It's the opening of that inner channel. And It was a transmission from your guides showing you that you are bringing through the energy of connection to your own higher self, and there are other beings present. The shadow does reflect there is still some level of resistance to some of the intensity that these interactions bring up. As again, every time you are moving into a higher state of consciousness, some of that light shines into the shadow aspects of your being, the belief systems and the tensions within you that still need to be resolved, integrated, deconstructed, and accepted. And so part of that symbolism is reflecting to you that in order to continue to bring an influx of this light and this energy into your life and into your being, there needs to be that continual confrontation with both the shadow and the chicken and the animal. And so you could say that there's three different symbols within this reflection. First of all, it is the shadow, the literal place where the light does not reach, is something that will become more clear to you when you bring in more light. Second of all, it is the chicken. The notion of being chicken in English often means being afraid. So it is the fear of the light that you will have to get more intimate with in order to bring in more light. And just as much, it is the animal itself, the primal and unconscious part of your being that you will get to know more when you bring in more light. And so this is why we've said it isn't necessarily an ascension when you upgrade. You bring in greater energy, higher frequency energy. Yes, in many senses that's valid. You bring in more light, but more light just as much means more awareness of that which isn't light. And if you don't do that process of the awareness of that which isn't light, you don't actually get to hold the light forever.
So it's like it was urging me to look into my shadow.
No, it
my
was
understanding?
encouraging you to bring the light in, but that the presence of the chicken shadow was the symbol reminding you that as you bring the light in, you will still become more aware of those three things: the fear, the shadow, and the animal nature. They won't go away as the process continues. And your ability to hold them is part of how the light continues to expand through you.
So it's like to keep a balance between those
Yes.
three, is it? And how do I bring more light in?
Well, it is, again, that vertical axis and the horizontal axis. And what this symbolizes is the vertical axis is your earth to heaven's consciousness. You open this by bringing your feet onto the ground and making your body a safe space for the light to live. That's the bottom of the axis. The upper part of the axis is expanding your mind through meditation, through inquiry and study, through learning new things. And when these two things are balanced and integrated, the root chakra is open, the crown chakra is open, and the energy can then flow up and down. New energy is constantly then circulating in through the light of the sun and the light of spirit, and up through the earth and your connection to this physical planet. The horizontal axis is the connection from human heart to human heart. And so this is the way that light is also being exchanged from person to person. You have your own natural connection to spirit, and then the other amplification of the light is how you carry out your human relationships with others. And by being open-hearted and clear in the way that you connect with others, this horizontal axis stays just as much open.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much. Can I ask one more short question?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Some time ago, it was a year or more, can't remember. I meditate every day. So in one of my meditations, I heard the word Venaris in my head. Do you have any idea what it is?
Illuminati?
No, Venaris.
Nadis?
Venaris.
Vanadis.
Yes.
One moment.
Thank you.
This doesn't necessarily ring a bell for us, but it still might be something that you can continue to explore. It might mean something more personal for you or be connected with your own mother language.
Yeah, I've been trying to find out for a year, over a year, what that is.
Keep
But
your eye.
thank you.
It certainly has to do with the idea of channels of energy that are awakened within you.
Okay. That's great. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Okay, thanks to you as well.
Well, I'll take advantage of the void here and ask one more, if I may.
All right.
I know the first wave of hybrid children are the ones that are closest to humans in vibration. Will the succeeding waves of hybrid children be of an increasingly higher vibration, like the Sasani human hybrids will come in after that? And that's the way I understand it.
Yes, after the first hybrid wave, there will be more subtle and different beings. The idea is that the first to come are to be most similar to you, and gradually with time, you will start to increase your own capacity to hold space for different sorts of beings on Earth.
Excellent. Thank you for that confirmation.
Yes.
Well, I have more questions if I may. If we
Certainly.
have time. Okay, great. So that's another meditation question. I don't know, 6 months ago or so, I was meditating in my living room with door closed, and at one point it was like someone was tugging at the door handle, but I just ignored it, and then a few minutes later it happened again. So I got up, opened the door, but there was nobody there. And then when I got back to lie down, I felt as if my body was being scanned from my feet to my crown. And then I felt as if something cold touched my crown. What can you tell me about that, please?
Something cold touched your thigh?
My crown, the top of my head, like cold metal, it felt.
And how did you feel following this experience?
Again, I felt really excited that I had an experience.
Yes.
I'm always on the lookout for these.
Yes, the feeling that somebody was coming on the door was a sign that a being was showing up. And this metal energy is connected with the notion of mental clarity. This is a quality of metal esoterically, you could say. And metal conducts energy. So when you feel as if there's metal qualities, it's about allowing those electrical currents of energy to move through you. You were living out an intention that you had to connect with a spirit guide. And in moments of the first level of contact, it's often very subtle, as it's just a felt presence. There's a guide with you and a subtle energy that moves through your body.
Okay, but the fact that somebody was rattling the doorknob, the door handle, that actually happened. I didn't feel it, I heard it. So who was that?
Somebody who came and left, you suppose?
There was nobody in the house but me.
It might have been. It was with coming from within your house. You're saying, yes?
Yes. The door to my living room.
Sometimes guides can give you experiences of a sort of hallucination, which are visions of other parallel realities. So they, in that sense, could have made the sound occur or made you hear the sound as a way of communicating with you.
Okay. Okay. Okay, I got it. Thanks.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thanks to you as well.
I just have one more question, if that's okay.
Yes.
Is there anything you could tell me about the trickster archetype?
Well, the trickster archetype is itself connected with the notion of individuation. It's the idea that at first, children are blended with their parents and they don't have a sense of self. And so there's a process required to be able to become an independent self. And the trickery is sometimes part of that. It's just as much connected with the idea of developing an independent ego, a sense of self, that often at first you might come to learn spiritual rules and disciplines and other ways that you conform to the outer authority. There is a set of conditions that give you access to the moral order. And the trickster is the one who interrupts that control system and guides you to discover your own inner authority. And in this way, the trickster energy can be used for positive and for negative. Trickster shows up whenever there is a systemic order that needs to be disrupted. Whether or not trickster's magic has a positive effect or has a harmful effect has to do with the intention of that disruption and what system is being disrupted. And you see trickster show up in stories like Prometheus, who stole the fire from the gods to give it to humanity. Nonetheless, Prometheus is cursed and tormented for this gift. And so this reflects the sacrifice that comes with the trickster energy and is also a good indicator that shows you that, yes, sometimes trickster needs to move through you in your lives, but working with trickster does mean that in the end, there will be a certain level of suffering. You have to decide for yourself, is that suffering worth stealing the fire of the gods and claiming it as your own? Because in the end, it really is your own fire, but it comes with a price.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
All right, there's a couple of questions on YouTube. And one is, are there any particular systems you can recommend for us to be disconnecting from in order to have more freedom from authoritarian measures? And do you have any instructions on how we can sustain without them?
Well, what matters is that you create your own infrastructure for support, that you have a solid sense of community, and that you have sustenance in your life, that you have an outlet that embraces your creativity, and that you honor the truth within your own heart. You don't need to fully drop out of the system and go completely off grid in order to thrive in today's world. And if you create such an extreme sense of isolation from the horrors of the world, you will find that at a certain point, you're not as resilient as you might have been had you had a foot in both worlds, so to speak. So what matters is that you decide what is grounding and security bringing for you. It's expanding your own capacity to feel and to act in alignment with your heart, regardless of how you feel. It's expanding your own capacity to see the truth and see lies and be able to know the difference. And so what we would encourage you is to open your eyes in all directions. Take in all of the different perspectives that are available to you. Analyze this from a spiritual level, from a political level, from a sociological level. Look at what different speakers say about it. And then note, as you see all of the different perspectives out there, which living belief systems are causing these different narratives to emerge. What are the core assumptions that causes one group of people to see the situation in this way? And what are the core assumptions that cause another group of people to see it another way? And this allows you to become just as aware of the nature of the soul and of the mind as you become aware of the situation at play. As that is what ultimately serves you the most. Do you understand the nature of human thought processes? Do you understand where they originate from and why biases form? Do you understand why people are ready and eager to jump onto quick solutions, bandwagons, chosen one ideologies, whatever feels safest and simplest and fastest? When you see all of the different fallacies at play, then you become impermeable to them. It doesn't matter then if you're taking in good information or misinformation, because you see the entire process and you understand the way that both your own mind works and all the other minds work as well.
Very nice, thank you. And another question is about a quote that says, "When we consume foods from nature, nature consumes us." Can you please provide clarity about this? Because I don't really understand what is implied here.
When you consume food from nature, nature consumes you. Well, you could say that the way that you have excessively consumed natural resources does create toxicity in your environment, chemical pollution, and other concerns that affect the level of abundance and the chemical balance of your ecosystems. And so in that way, your overconsumption is also consuming you. Now, yes, what you consume consumes you is true in the level of what you eat. When you are choosing healthy and healing foods, your body takes in those nutrients and you are connected with the origin of the foods. Yet when you consume low quality, degrading foods, those toxins eat away at you. What you consume consumes you is just as much true in the idea of information consumption, because all of the stories that you take in become internalized voices in your own head. They become part of how you take information in if you allow them to define you. And again, the process of consuming without choosing to be deliberately expressive in what you do is what wears you down more than anything else. So perhaps that clarifies this subject a little bit.
All right, thank you so much. And another one is, hi Pleiadians. I recently heard about two concepts that I never heard about before, and I would love your take on it. One is unprocessed resentment, and the other one is attachment to separation. Thank you.
Yes, unprocessed resentment is the way that you might have given away some of your own true feelings and responses in the past. This is especially true when you have a strong identity to be a helpful healer or somebody who brings positive energy to others, and you don't believe that you are allowed to feel triggered at all. Especially in these cases, you might brush over your feelings. You might not even be aware of the fact that sometimes other people might cross your boundaries or make you uncomfortable. So especially in these feelings, you might be overgiving of your energy or doing a lot to support others while ignoring your own body's responses, and then unprocessed resentment builds up. But of course, there can be even bigger resentments, like when you have conflicts and disagreements and things don't necessarily work out for you. That resentment that you take on becomes a force that you carry with you for much longer than when you would process it and face it. Now, attachment to separation could certainly mean many different things. It can be the idea of being attached to the notion that you are separate from the source and that you are not connected to the source. It could also be the idea of a separation between yourself and others. And separation is an illusion that you can uphold with your own belief system and your own tendency to isolate yourself and not take in others. The remedy for this is noting that you are a drop in the ocean and also the entire ocean itself. It is recognizing that you would not exist as you are without the influence of your parents and your teachers and all of the people that shaped you, and the media and the stories that have shaped you, all living out in your own head and body and nervous system. Yes, you would not be who you are without the world today, and just as much you impact the world with everything that you do, even when all you do is spend time by yourself in your own space. Your energy affects creation, and creation's energy affects you. You are not separate from the world, you are a vital part of it. And in embracing and recognizing this, you open yourself to see the ways that you can have a positive impact, and the way that many around you can be uplifted through simple acts.
All right, thank you so much. Let's see if there's any last questions from the Zoom room.
All right, well, if that will be all for today, we thank you all very much for coming together and co-creating this interaction and this transmission. It is always a pleasure and honor for us, and we wish you a fantastic rest of your day then. Okay, yeah.
Wow. That was a really, really good one. Thank you so much.
I'm glad to hear that it was a good one.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Well, you're welcome, Katya. Thanks for joining today. Yeah, great to see everybody and get to meet some new people too.
I really hope a lot of people are going to listen to the opening monologue again, because wow, there was some really timely stuff there.
Yeah, sometimes I think the opening monologues are the best part, aren't they? No, all the questions make it really magic too. There's a lot of good that comes in the questions. So thank you for bringing them, and thank you. Sometimes questions can feel a little bit vulnerable, I know. I want to put in the Zoom comments, as I put in the YouTube, that the Heartflow Transmissions book, that's the transcripts of all the last summary, the transmissions over the years, is available, and those who've got it so far really love it. And it's not just, transmissions from the past. It's organized in a way that it's a journey and meant to be like a foundational introduction to all of the Pleiadian texts. And as well, I'm releasing a book that it's a short book, a short story, and other short stories that I wrote back in when I was in college. I actually didn't finish college, but I did well in it. I was studying creative writing and a bit of other things. And after I finished my autobiography and other books, I wanted to like look back to the origins of writing for me, and I felt that this was a very beautiful work. It's like metaphysical and dystopian fiction. It talks about a world where there are people that are addicted to technology and mind-altering substances in a dystopian society that, and then they find a way out. But it's a little bit absurd, and then there's some writing that I did when I first began my path traveling to Mexico and the Mayan initiations back in 2013, and I just thought it was a fun little thing to put out there, but not something I'm going to seriously promote more than just have it on the website and let those who are attracted to it find it over time. But I wanted to share it with the world and let you see that there's that page where you can pre-order it, and it will be coming out the 20th, and there's many other things on the way as well. You can check out heartflowtransmissions.com to find out all about the sessions, the channeling course, and the other things I offer. So yeah, beyond that, does anybody else have something they might want to share or comment or say about this transmission today before we go?
Yeah, it was freaking
I
wonderful. Thank you for making this available for us, Dante.
Oh, thank you. Glad to hear that.
Yeah, I also want to say thanks so much. This was my first time ever joining you. I've watched some of your videos on YouTube, and thanks to Ray, I found the Zoom link and I just logged in.
Awesome.
And you answered 3 of my questions, so thank you so much.
You're so
That was
welcome.
great.
It's really
I'm
good.
looking forward to listening again.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, good to meet you, and thanks for inviting. It's great. Where are you
My
from?
name is Kasia, by the way.
Kasia.
I'm Kasia.
Yeah.
I'm
great.
Polish, but I live in Ireland.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's really cold here.
Yeah. Cold
So
inside.
thanks again.
Those places where they don't necessarily heat it up so well inside or something. Or...
Yeah, it's an old house. There's no insulation. Yeah.
I hope you can.
Spring is coming. Sorry?
Hope you can stay warm through the winter.
Yeah. It's not so bad. Not so bad.
Yeah.
Hot tea.
Hot tea.
Hot tea.
I'm here with the AC on. Bye, Ray.
Bye, Ray.
So
yeah, I'll join you next time if I can, because it's I think it's 6-hour difference or 5 or 6 hour difference, but it's a good time.
12 my time, 6 UK and Ireland, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go. Thanks again.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks Dante for always showing up. This was one of the best ones for sure.
You always say that, so I'm like,
no, I don't. No, notice I don't. I keep it when it's real, and it's really real today. Trust me.
Well, we'll go with that. It's one of the best ones ever. And to mention, I forgot to mention today, if you ever feel like donating to support the channel, it's such a huge help. It's totally optional. But these transmissions and so much content comes out there for free, and the donations help to keep it free and keep it flowing. They've really made a difference over the years. So send me an email if the ways to donate aren't clear. My email address is the same as it is for PayPal and all those things, but reach out, and support always helps. But of course, buying the books and sharing is the biggest help. And in any case, what are we doing? I think that's a wrap. I got quite tired, and I have another session coming up, and so I'll catch you soon next week or in private sessions or whenever we see each other. And thanks again. Have a beautiful rest of your day. And
thank you.
Thank you, Dan. It's a great job.